In this section, we will look at another important aspect of your personality, the way you process information and get things done. Our success in life ultimately depends on the choices and the decisions we make. But as individuals, we process information and make decisions in very different ways. And if we are not aware of how we make empowered decisions, for example, if we think we need to make decisions by collecting all information, assessing all the pros and cons, and then deciding, we often end up with frustration and conflicts in our life and in our relationships. In this section, we will talk about your decision making quality, your DQ, the way you process information, make decisions, and ultimately get things done. There are two types of temperaments or qualities when it comes to decision making: decisive and observant. Decisive personalities are the ones who have a tendency to initiate immediate action when they want to accomplish something. We call these people stalkers. Observant personalities have a tendency to first observe and take time and to reflect before initiating action. We call these people dreamers. In Western society, we are all educated to be stalkers. Look at how our planet works. It's all about getting stuff done. If we want to get new clients for your company, we have to pick up the phone, we make calls, we go to networking meetings, we have to tell our story and don't accept no for an answer. On the other hand, if you imagine going to a job interview and say that you're not taking action so quickly, you don't really get things done as fast as other people and have a tendency to reflect quite some time before initiating action, do you actually think you'll get the job? Some people might appreciate that, but usually we think we get the job when we pick up the phone and get stuff done fast. So in our culture, if we want to get stuff done, we think we have to be a stalker. Stalkers, the people with a decisive temperament, are actually the movers and shakers of the world. As mentioned, they do pick up the phone right away, they take action, they don't think long, they know what to do and do it. Here's an example of a dear friend I used to travel with. As soon as we made the decision to fly somewhere, she booked the flights, rental cars, and any meetings that we wanted to attend, even if our trip was still 3 to 4 months out. I, on the other hand, as a dreamer, waited until 2 to 3 weeks before we left and then booked the flights. Probably you can see where this is going in a relationship. Stalkers have a tendency to accelerate action. And when the circumstances change, they usually don't have a problem to change or modify things. So my friend was totally okay canceling flights or meetings if we decided to change our travel plans, even if it was 5 times before we left. As a dreamer, I found this really disturbing and cumbersome to change things around so many times. So, contrary to stalkers, dreamers wait until they're clear, and then they initiate action. And contrary to dreamers, stalkers get right on the task, but don't have a problem making last-minute changes. You can probably see that this is a reason for many conflicts in relationships. If your spouse is a stalker and you are a dreamer, she can get really annoyed because you don't get down to booking those flights. As a stalker, she might feel that you're not committed or that she has to do all the work in the house. Meanwhile, you as a dreamer are just waiting until you're really clear that your travel plans are still on. On the other hand, if you're a dreamer and your spouse is a stalker, you get annoyed because she's constantly pushing you to do stuff and then changing things around last minute. So we have to be aware of these different personality types. We have to understand what we simply operate differently, because you can see how easy these different DQs can lead to conflicts in relationships or in teams. Let's take a closer look at dreamer personalities first. You might not believe it, but 50% of our populations are actually dreamers. As dreamers, we typically think, oh damn, I don't get anything done dreaming, so I have to become a stalker. But this is not working, which we will see in a minute. Contrary to what we are being taught, dreaming can be extremely powerful. Look at the impact of Stephen Hawking, the famous physicist. He's a dreamer. Or look at nature. Nothing is doing out there. It's all a being state. It's the dreaming state. While stalkers find it really hard to sit still and constantly want to do things, clean the garden, fix stuff up, do something, dreamers must take downtime to be in their authentic power. They just need the time for themselves. For dreamers, it is critical to take their time A, to create new stuff, and B, to reflect about their choices and decisions. This is the time where dreamers are actually productive. So dreamers can just sit and relax. They can stare up in the air and it feels like a toilet flush. The brain becomes clear and new ideas can come. When working with dreamers, you have to realize that although you might think that stalkers are the ones we can rely on to get things done, dreamers are often the ones who follow things through. Remember, stalkers are comfortable changing around everything in the last minute, while dreamers are actually extremely reliable once they have made up their mind. Once they initiate something, you can be pretty sure that they will be there and follow through. So if we want to create fruitful relationships, whether it's in business or privately, it is really helpful to be aware of the different qualities, whether you, your spouse, or your team players are dreamers or stalkers. Before we do that, there's one more thing to be aware of, which is called masking. As we mentioned earlier, our society often tells us that we have to be a stalker to be successful. The result is that nearly every dreamer thinks he has to behave like a stalker. We call it wearing a stalker mask. As dreamers, we think that we must take action, so we behave as stalkers. The problem is that whenever we do so, we are not in our authentic power. Instead of taking actions, dreamers oftentimes feel like they are pressuring themselves or others if they put on this stalker mask. As a matter of fact, most dreamers wear a stalking mask because we think we won't make money or simply not survive in this world. Therefore, dreamers oftentimes need to face death to actually try it out, not to take action if it is not the right time for them, if they really want to fully use their dreaming quality or become in-power dreamers. Equally, some stalkers wear dreaming masks. Think of powerful women, for example, who have been told during their lives to be more quiet or less pushy maybe. Oftentimes, these women start wearing a dreamer mask to become more lovable and accepted by the people around them, only to find that they have become Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in one person. Nice on the outside, but really a stalker on steroids on the inside. The point is, whenever we wear a mask, we are not in our authentic power. We are not using our decision-making quality to create and further our life, but instead we will find that we create resistance and conflict. You might have a feeling by now whether you're a stalker or a dreamer. The following exercise and reflection will further clarify whether you have a more observant or a more decisive nature.